Hi, my name is Jessica Schufer, and this is my PLN fourth grade writers. I'm a fourth grade teacher at an elementary school, and my grade level is departmentalized, and I teach language arts. And so while my fourth grade team is very supportive and we work really well together, since we are departmentalized, each of us spends a lot of our time focused on our own content area, which makes planning for instruction a little bit more challenging because you don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of or collaborate with. And so for the purposes of this project, I wanted to kind of help myself out a little bit and do a little bit of planning around my writing instruction, as since that's one of the areas where I feel the weakest in my teaching. And so I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity to do a little bit more research and find some things that might help me to enhance that part of my teaching. So on my home page, um, my statement about kind of what my website is about. The purpose is to explore some of the research behind different uses of digital storytelling as a resource for teachers to use with students. Um, Writing is the area that I feel the weakest, and I also feel that there are many ways that I could incorporate technology into my classroom that I'm not doing yet, but that I should be to meet the needs of my students. So I thought that digital storytelling kind of meshed those two ideas together. And so I'll be exploring different ways to use that as an instructional tool for engaging my students, and then just giving them opportunities to publish their work and to have that out there for an authentic audience besides just their teacher reading their work. So, like I said, the study or the focus for this project was to really work on my narrative writing instruction. I feel that's kind of my weakest area overall. Writing instruction has always been a struggle for me, but I feel with informative writing and persuasive writing, I have a little bit more structure to what I've been doing. But for narrative writing, I wanted something a little bit more. And so I wanted to enhance that unit by trying out digital storytelling as a way for my students to publish their work. Um, Sometimes they have the opportunity to type their work on Chromebooks and then share it with me or share it with peers. Um, but so far, that's really been the only way that they have been publishing their writing. And so I wanted them to be able to have a more authentic audience, to have more of a purpose for writing. And through researching and reading different articles and websites, I found that there are many more ways that digital storytelling can be used in the classroom, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't know much about digital storytelling to begin with, and then I realized I knew even less than I thought that I did. Um, so I realized that it can be used as a tool for not only improving writing, but also reading, speaking, listening, and many, many of the 21st century skills that we would like our students to have. So the more I looked into this instructional strategy, the more confident I felt that this was the direction that I would like to go with and to offer that to my students. So like I said, writing instruction is an area where I felt kind of lost and not very confident, and I think that that has kind of projected onto my students a little bit. If the teacher is not super excited about it, then they're not going to be super excited about it either. And so I want to turn that around and get them really excited about writing and want to write and want to tell stories because they do love telling stories. And narrative writing is one of their favorite types of writing to do. And so I want them to enjoy doing that and to have a really strong purpose for doing that. And so I feel like digital storytelling will be motivating for them. They'll be really engaged in that. And I think that it will help to improve their writing as well and maybe even draw out some of those kiddos who don't like to write at all and refuse to write. Maybe using this strategy will help them to feel more confident in their abilities. So that kind of segues into my goal, where I will be hoping to create an environment where all of my students feel confident in their writing and they feel that it's okay to share it over this resource of digital storytelling. So they're getting feedback from their peers, getting feedback from other people besides their teacher. Um, I would like to incorporate it into my units and have it be something that my students are comfortable with doing. They become familiar with the routines, and it just becomes kind of second nature to them to present their work in this way, whether it's reading stories or sharing their own writing, all the different ways that we can use digital storytelling. When I originally um, typed this up for the other assignment, I started with just the writing standards because I thought, digital storytelling, we're telling stories, and I'm focused on narrative writing, so those will really be the standards that this project focuses on. However, as I continue to research and find all different uses, I realize that several other standards are covered as well, and so I kind of revised that to include reading standard and also speaking and listening standards because I feel that all of those can be incorporated and touched on through using this strategy in different ways. So I feel like this has helped me to be more effective in my writing instruction. While I have not implemented it with students yet, I do feel like the next time that I start a narrative writing unit, I'll have a clear goal in mind of where I would like to go and different strategies that I would like to try with my students. And I think that my excitement over this and really being eager to try something new and get them excited about it will spill over to them and really get them engaged and wanting to share their writing in this way and maybe share some other types of work too. So I'm really excited about the impact that can have on my students, and hopefully will show a lot of growth for them in their reading and writing. So the materials that I prepared for this unit go along with my narrative writing unit, and some of them I have used before, which was something that I saw suggested in a lot of different articles, that using this strategy isn't something brand new that you have to totally reinvent your classroom for. You can incorporate it into things that you're already doing, and so I kind of did that with my narrative writing unit that I have set up so far. So one of the things that I've done with students is when we begin the year, they create a heart map. So I give them a graphic organizer of a heart with different sections in it, and they fill it in with all kinds of things that are most important to them, things that they love, things that are important to them, memories that they have. And so they will use that as kind of a springboard for their brainstorming for future narrative writing stories. So here's an example of what a completed heart map might look like. And they take a lot of time on that and put a lot of hard work, and so that they feel proud of it when they're finished, because that's something that they're going to refer back to quite frequently during this narrative writing unit. So from the heart map, then I demonstrate for students how we pick just one of those things to write about, and then how to kind of narrow it down to just one specific memory or event. One of the things on my heart map was riding bikes, going for bike rides. And so I wrote a story about one day when I went for a bike ride and I got 2 miles from my home and I got a flat tire. And so then I had to write about what happened that day, and I only told about that event during my bike ride. And so we talk about how to narrow it down and then give as much detail about that one event as possible. And so something new that I would try the next time, I haven't done this with students yet, but I saw it suggested and I thought it would be a really good idea. Instead of having students write their rough drafts, they would go to Google Docs and use the Google speech-to-text feature to tell their story to the Chromebook. And a lot of the research said that this really helps to improve student writing because they're much more detailed in their explanations than they are in their writing, and so it really helps them to see how much detail they can put into a story and how vivid they can make it for their readers. And I know that some of my students are already using this speech-to-text feature on Google Docs for other purposes. And so since that's something that they're familiar with, I think that they would really enjoy doing that, and that would motivate them to do a good job with their story, and to include lots of details to make a great narrative writing piece. After I had them do their rough draft into the computer, I would do some interactive read-alouds with them with mentor texts, and these are texts that I've used with my students, and they were really engaging for them. They enjoyed listening to them. But what I would really like them to focus on is those different elements of narrative writing in those read-alouds to see how a published author incorporated those different parts. and then think about how they could do that into their own story. So I would share these read-alouds with them. We would talk a lot about how an expert did those different things, and then I would have them go back to their own writing. And maybe at first by themselves or maybe with a peer, they would compare their own writing to those mentor text examples to see how they could improve their writing to make it sound more professional, more like a published piece of writing. And so I included here a checklist that I might have my students use as they review and revise their writing. They could go down that checklist just to see if they have all the different elements that their writing should have. And so I think I would have to kind of see how it goes if I have them physically type it on the document, if they continue to use the speech-to-text feature, whatever would work best for them. After they have made their revisions and they are ready to publish their work, one website that I found that seemed really interesting and useful for this purpose was storybird.com. And this website is really cool. I talk about it a little bit more in my bibliography. But it allows them to choose what type of book they want to write, if it's a picture book, a chapter book, a poem, and then they can choose graphics that go along with their writing and incorporate those pieces together to format it like it's a real published book. And another feature that was cool for that was that you can choose who all it's shared with. So they can share it with their classmates, they can share it with just their teacher, you can provide parents with the access code to that. And so once all stories were completed, kids really love to share their work with their class, and so I would allow them that opportunity to share on the smartboard, and then to allow access to parents and families so that they are getting that authentic audience and a wider audience than just the students in their class or their teacher for their work.